Greetings, my fans. Now, this video is long since overdue. Now, I have shown multiple different weapons over the course of my entire time on this platform. The platform being YouTube. Now, I've decided that I'm going to show you what is currently my entire weapons collection. Now, with that in mind, let's get started. Now, all recurring subscribers of my channel will probably recognize this. My bow staff. 6 foot long, wax wood, about, I'd say, 1 inch thick. This is easily the weapon that requires the most skill out of everything I've got. Now, however, this is also the only weapon in my entire collection that is non-lethal. Meaning, you most likely can't kill a person with this without, well, it would be hard, but it's incredibly hard to kill a person with one of these. But other than that, it's just the bow stuff. Now, let's move on. Now, this is actually a weapon I made myself. I like to call it the Sling Cleaver. Now, this is a steel blade that, while being incredibly thin, is really sharp and has some mass to it. Meaning that since it can spin fast. See? Spinning fast. And it is incredibly sharp. So, you do some serious damage with this. Now, the blade's nice and all, but the real shiny part of this is the handle. Now, the handle's also rope, but using the hangman's knot, I was able to find a strong loop for this, and it's adjustable. Ultimately, this is a pretty solid weapon, and while it takes a decent amount of skill to be able to use it, it's nothing you can't learn on your own. See? It's actually not quite that hard. However, I would recommend not trying this at home until you've with a sharp blade like I am. Now, with that in mind, we are going to move on, and let's check out one of the heavier weapons in my collection, literally and figuratively. Sledgehammer. A lot of people are familiar with this kind of weapon. This is a 3-pound iron head, ashwood handle. Ultimately, pretty good weapon. Just kidding, it's not that good as a weapon. Now, I primarily use this for strength training, but ultimately, it's just here. I mean, if you're fighting fighting a single zombie, I'd rather have this than nothing. But ultimately, one of the worst weapons in my collection, but still useful. Now let's check another homemade weapon. Now, this is debatably lethal, but it's a whip, paracord. Actually, the first weapon I ever made is it has a solid handle, a hanging loop, and just going to go over here for a second. It cracks like a normal whip would. Ultimately, it does take some skill to learn how to use, but pretty decent weapon. Now, of course, it can also double for strangulation, but I wouldn't recommend it. Now, this can do some serious damage. But ultimately, I can't really say that this would be my preferred weapon of anything in my collection. Now, I'm going to show you another homemade weapon, but one that's definitely lethal, and much more practical. This is a homemade club. It is a light club made of ash wood, heat treated, with metals and nails reinforcing it and giving it a metal head at the end. Now, the thing is, it's a light club, meaning it's meant for lighter attacks. Meaning you can do some heavy attacks with it. I just wouldn't recommend it. The duct tape handle can only really fit one hand easily. This would be best to mix with a heavier weapon, or even a shield. That would be pretty preferable. Now, ultimately, this probably one of the better weapons in my collection, but ultimately, it's a good weapon, but plenty better. Let's check out another one of the heavy weapons. This one, probably one of the most lethal things I own. All you Minecrafters out there probably know what this is. This is a pickaxe. Definitely can use a cleaning though. No, it steelhead, ashwood handle. Ultimately, I don't know what else there is to say about this. This thing's pretty heavy. Personally, I'd recommend giving this to a person who is a lot stronger than me, preferably someone bigger than me too. But ultimately, pretty good weapon, but definitely requires two hands. Now, with that in mind, let's check out another weapon. Now, this is a pretty old one on my channel, but one of the only first weapon I ever got. A hammer. Now it's a light weapon, but steel head, solid handle. Don't know what it's made of, but wait. Apparently the brand is called Craftsman. It has a claw on the back, solid striking surface, and it's light. Ultimately, do some serious damage, but it limits your range. And ultimately, it is not all that good of a weapon. It's a tool, first and foremost. Can be used as a weapon, definitely, but I wouldn't recommend it. But it's in my collection, so. Now, let's check out another thing. This is my hatchet. Yeah, it's 1.1 pounds. Well, the head is at least. American solid steel head. American hickory handle. So definitely not going to break anytime soon. And ultimately, it's a pretty good axe. It's light enough to where you can be quick with your swings, but heavy enough to where you can get some serious chopping power in. Ultimately, this is one of my better ones. Also, it can be thrown, but I wouldn't recommend it. Now, interesting thing about this, it's also a useful tool. But ultimately, that's about it. So, let's check out my next weapon. Well, we're actually almost done. Now, just get this out of the sheath. My machete. Now, unfortunately, I'm a sword guy. Not really a fan of machetes. But this one is light enough to swing like a sword. You can easily do some tricks like I'm doing right here. Of course, I'm not actually doing these very fast, as I would get in trouble for doing them fast. I just sped up the footage. Now, this is steel, and I mean, look, it's incredibly thin. It bends like nothing, but yeah, ultimately, chops pretty well. Easy enough to sharpen. Blade's not that hard, to do. Maintenance with. My only real complaint, other than the bending, is that the handle's pretty bad. Other than that, well, it's a pretty solid weapon, but ultimately, now we've seen some pretty interesting weapons, but let's look at something more interesting. Standard issue for the U.S. Army. This is an e-tool. It is a collapsible shovel, with a saw blade and a file. Great handle. This thing's steel. It's going to last. Now, it is generally a shovel, but it's primarily used in the Army to dig trenches and as a weapon. My dad was in the Army, and he said that he once saw a guy throw this at a guy. Now, this is collapsible, so it can take up as little space as you want as possible. So it's easy to keep in a bag, or even on your person if you have big pockets. Now, this is probably my favorite weapon in my entire collection. Other than, it gets some kind of attention with with the last one I'm going to bring out, but ultimately, pretty solid weapon. Doesn't have much competition as far as great weapons go, and ultimately, pretty solid. Ultimately, it is a great weapon. Now, this is the only ranged weapon that I own. This is a wrist rocket slingshot. Has some serious power behind it. Now, interesting thing about this is, unlike other slingshots, it actually has a brace back here, allowing you to, pull back harder, while doing no damage to the slingshot itself, or you. Ultimately, it's a pretty great weapon. Surgical tubing for the band. Some kind of fabric, I'm not entirely sure. It has a weird feel to it for the pouch. Steel frame, plastic handle, and a rubber band for the brace, and steel framing for the back. Ultimately, pretty solid. It is a pretty great weapon. You can use just about anything you find for ammo, but personally I like to buy the steel pellets from Amazon to use for this. Ultimately, it's just my preferred ammo. You can choose whatever you want, but use whatever you get. Easy to be accurate with this. Serious power behind the strikes, and bullseye. Ultimately, best part is it's collapsible. You can fit in your pocket with ease. Now, with all this being said, there is one weapon that I have left, but before I bring that out, I would like to give a special notice. As you have probably noticed, there are quite a few bladed items in here. That hatchet, the machete, and the sling cleaver. Ultimately, those are bladed items, and they require maintenance, which is why Always carry a sharpening stone with you at all times. Well, with the weapons, of course. Ultimately, you need to keep these things sharp, otherwise their use is going to be very limited. Ultimately, just going to be a good idea all around. Now, with that in mind, we have our final weapon to look at. But first I would like to say this. Anything, even a scarf, can be a weapon in the right hands. And just remember, these are your best weapons. Along with these, and your legs in general. But weapons don't hurt. Well, they hurt other people, but not you, hopefully. But this, the easiest weapon to keep on you at all times. Nobody questions the scarf. Now, with that in mind, this is probably the most dangerous weapon I have to use in a fight. Not for you, for the other guy. This is a Brooklyn Crusher, a baseball bat by Cold Steel, the greatest knife company in the world. Now, the thing is about this is solid polypropylene, indestructible. This thing can withstand the weight of a truck and be slightly bent, but then you can bend it back into place by just pushing it on the ground. It's lightweight, and, well, not really lightweight, but it's not really lightweight enough to swing it around like this easily, but I'd say pretty dangerous in the right hands. Heck, even in the wrong hands, it can do a lot. The guy who made it, showcased it by shattering cinder blocks with it, suspending it, using it to support the weight of a truck, and one second, using it to support the weight of a truck and other things. Just ignore that. Ultimately, this is by far one of my favorite weapons on my entire collection, and it it is very dangerous. Now, that's my entire weapons collection, but I would like to say, if you're going to collect weapons on your own, make sure that you don't do anything stupid. Always be smart with your weapons. Don't cut yourself. And if you're going to try making your own weapons, do it. You have common sense. Wear gloves for most of it, but don't wear gloves for when you're using rotary tools. If you have leather gloves, that would be acceptable to use. Wear those then, though. With that being said, though, this is my entire weapons collection. Now, remember that I will get more weapons over time, and heck, maybe I'll make this into a yearly thing. This video was actually meant to be in 2019, so I'm going to be doing another one at the end of 2020. With that being said, this is Randoman, signing off.